to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. News out of the women's super bantamweight division. It appears that Ellie Scotney will be taking on Sigaline Lefebvre in what is an IBF WBO unification bout tabbed for April 13th in Manchester. It's very good that Matchroom has finally got around to doing some unification matches. A significant first step was taken in the quest to crown an undisputed super bantamweight champion. BoxingScene.com has learned that Ellie Scotney and Sigaline Lefebvre have agreed to terms for a bout to unify the IBF and WBO junior featherweight belts. The battle of unbeaten champions is eyed for the already announced April 13th DAZN show from the AO Arena in Manchester.
That's the Jordan Gill versus Zelfa Barrett fight.
Scotney will risk her IBF title for the second time, while Lefebvre will attempt the second defense of her second WBO title reign. We are now one step closer to crowning the face of this division, the face of this weight class. There are 4 champions at this weight. Ellie Scotney and Sigaline Lefebvre are just 2 among them. The other 2 are Mexico's own Jaime Mercado and Erika Cruz. For the longest time now, this is a division that has stood divided for many, many years. The alphabet titles split 4 ways between 4 different fighters. Frances Lefebvre was on board all along to fight for a second major title. The 30-year-old from Douai,
Where's that?
it's roughly 2 hours north of Paris. Lefebvre immediately agreed to terms when first presented with the opportunity to face Ellie Scotney, who's been keen to face any of her divisional rivals, any of the other champions at this weight, of which there are 3. Matchroom's investment in this weight class will bring it the consolidation it sorely needs. They have about 2 or 3 prize stallions in that super bantamweight show. There's Ellie Scotney, who I just mentioned, Erika Cruz, reigning WBA champion, and Ramla Ali.
When is she gonna fight for a title?
Ramla's coming off that revenge win over Johanna Guzman, who knocked her out in her first fight. Ramla thoroughly outpointed her in the second. And Ramla does moonlight as a model, after all. She is a little more than a boxer, just a boxer. She's got other exploits, other endeavors. In any event, Matchroom is so invested in this division, the super bantamweight division, where they have not 1, not 2, but 3 prized stallions. And now they're finally bringing it the consolidation that it sorely needs, because I can't remember the last time there was a unified champion campaigning at this weight. What is the first step in crowning the face, the new face of the super bantamweight division? And it could be Ellie Scotney in what is a battle of the unbeatens. Unbeaten Ellie Scotney, unbeaten Sigaline Lefebvre.
But that's not all.
One of the division's other remaining champions, Jaime Mercado, who holds the WBC title. BoxingScene.com has learned that an Erika Cruz versus Jaime Mercado unification bout is also being explored. Whether or not it's next or it's after Cruz satisfies her mandatory Nazarena Romero of Argentina, who we've talked about.
That has yet to be determined. It's my understanding that that fight between Nazarena and Erika was already underway. The WBA was pushing for it. Nazarena was pushing for it. Can they convince her to stand down and step aside so this unification bout will take place? There's a lot of shaking, rattling, and rolling at 122 pounds, and we'll see what happens with that.
Unification match between Erika Cruz and Jaime Mercado is yet another unification bout at this weight that features a Matchroom fighter, a Matchroom champion. Erika Cruz, she's with Matchroom. So you see what I mean when I say that it's always beneficial towards a division's profile when a major promotional outfit has 1 or some or several fighters campaigning at that weight. Now, as it pertains to Scotney versus Lefebvre,
Sigaline Lefebvre, who in many ways is more experienced as a professional than young Ellie Scotney. She's got 10 more pro bouts than Ellie Scotney does and more rounds in the bank, but I don't think she has the same ceiling as Ellie.
Sigaline Lefebvre, she's about 18-0, whereas Ellie Scotney is 8-0. Sigaline's got more pro bouts, more rounds in the bank, more experience, but as stated, I don't think she's as talented as Ellie Scotney. Sigaline is best described as long and limber for the weight. Very tall, those long levers.
Long arms and long legs that make for longer strides. She's a fluid fighter. She can fight a bit on the inside and the outside.
This upcoming Ellie Scotney fight, I'd wager it's going to be Ellie Scotney that has the advantage within close quarters. It'll be Ellie, the more compact fighter, the shorter, stumpier fighter, that has the advantage mid-range advantage the inside. Shorter arms allow her to string together combinations faster than the more statuesque Sigaline Lefebvre, who would likely need more room to get her punches out and get her punches off. Within close quarters, I think Ellie will have the edge, and I think she's a little faster.
Sharper boxer, sharper movements.
Ellie's best attribute as a fighter is that she's adaptable. She can adapt to a variety of situations and do what is appropriate in the moment. Neither fighter could be accused of being all that heavy-handed. They're not knockout merchants, Ellie Scotney and Sigaline Lefebvre, but I do think there's a little more on Ellie's punches than Sigaline's. So I like Ellie Scotney to win, and we'll talk more about the fight as the fight date approaches.
Teófimo, saludo papá, bendiciones campeón, éxito hoy que la tienes apretada. Oye, siéntate a hablar con Top Rank y pregúntale por qué no quisieron garantizar mi pelea contigo. Por eso mi promotor tomó todos los rumbos. Cuéntale eso a la gente. Habla claro, ¿tienes o no tienes miedo? ¿Quieres o no quieres pelear conmigo? Habla claro.
What the reigning IBF super lightweight champion is essentially saying here is he's instructing Teofimo to speak clearly, tell the world the truth, tell the world that Top Rank would not guarantee Subriel a fight with Teofimo, thus his handlers went in another direction. That if they're not going to guarantee him the Lopez fight, he's going to go another route, which is what he did, and he's en route to fighting in his native Puerto Rico, opposite the ring, Australia's own Liam Paro, and he feels that Teofimo, Top Rank as well, I guess, they're not being upfront about it.
And he said this ahead of last night's fight, the fight between Teofimo and Jermaine. I can only imagine what Subriel has to say about Teofimo now after that lackluster showing. I think that a lot about Subriel's personality, or the lack thereof, gets lost in translation because there's a language barrier and he doesn't speak English. So maybe it doesn't quite come across that this isn't a guy who fucks around. This is a no-nonsense customer who speaks clearly and concisely. Like what you get from Art to a Better Beef, who's Russian, but you know, it's that kind of deal, it's that kind of vibe. This guy doesn't dick around and he doesn't mince words much.
He's not a soundbite guy, he's not a hot take guy, not a clickbait guy. He's not a guy who minces words much, and when he says something, he means it, or at least I believe he means it. I believe him. I believe that when he was talking to Top Rank, they wouldn't guarantee him the Lopez fight, so he decided, if you're not going to guarantee me that fight, then I'm going to go somewhere else. Subriel's partnership with Matchroom, the rumored partnership, it hasn't been officially announced by Matchroom, at least not yet. I don't know if it will be by the time that this video is uploaded, but you have to question, is Teofimo serious? Does he want to fight Subriel? Because that could be a very big fight in the tri-state area over the summer months. Presumably, the week of the Puerto Rican Day Parade, you could draw out a large crowd with that fight. Matias versus Lopez, but it takes two to tango. Both teams have to want it. And I'm not sure that Team Lopez want that fight.
You remember a few weeks ago that Team Lopez said they reached out to Team Matias and they wanted to do the fight, but then it came out that Matias's hand was busted. He was injured. He was saying the only reason they reached out to him and made it public is because they knew he was injured and that he wouldn't be able to fight. And once again, I believe him.
That seems like something that Team Lopez would do in order to cultivate favor amongst the boxing community at large. They'll make it seem like they were trying to fight Matias, all the while knowing that Matias couldn't fight. His hand was busted.
Yeah.
Like how he's now doing all these interviews, tearing down Terence Crawford. I don't think he's serious about fighting Terence Crawford. You lost to George Kambosos. You look bad with Sandor Martin, and you look bad yesterday with Jermaine Ortiz. And I'm supposed to believe you're serious about fighting Terence Crawford.
You're not serious about fighting Terence, and you weren't serious about fighting Subriel. And if I'm wrong, prove me wrong.
Prove it. You have time. You still have your belt. If you're serious about fighting him, reach out to him again and see if you can't schedule a fight for over the summer months or sometime later on this year, if Subriel is otherwise preoccupied. Because when you want something, you go after it. Like how you went after Vasily Lomachenko, so go after this guy like that. Make me a believer. Make me believe it.
He won't.
As Teofimo Lopez has said, his next fight will take place in Honduras, where his parents are from. Lopez represented Honduras when he boxed in the 2016 Olympics. And who he's going to box there? I don't know. Is there going to be any involvement from Top Rank? Is ESPN going to air it? Your guess is as good as mine. This kid always seems to have his own plans that don't always necessarily align with reality and the reality of things.
Matias and Lopez are both champions at the same weight. All the other world champions are otherwise preoccupied. Rolly's fighting Isaac. Devin's fighting Ryan.
You can fight Matias. Isn't that what you were trying to do before? I feel that, stylistically, Teofimo actually has the right base style for a come-forward, aggressive, pressure fighter. The boxer puncher, the counter puncher, does often have the tactical advantage over the pressure guy, the pressure fighter, because the pressure fighter is going to give him all the countering opportunities he needs. So from a stylistic perspective, Teofimo's got the right base style for the job, but physically,
That's where I think he's at a disadvantage.
Teofimo's at his best when he can hang back and make the opponent come to him, like the Solo Lomachenko came to him, like how Josh Taylor came to him. He's good at using the other fighter's aggression against them. And Subriel, he is a particularly aggressive fighter, but he's also a lot bigger than most of the guys that Teofimo has fought so far. A lot stronger.
So it's either Teofimo uses his speed and his counters to punch in between Subriel's combinations and clips him early, takes him out early. It's either he does that or Subriel grinds him down. Subriel takes his best shot, takes his power shot, weathers it, and grinds Teofimo down the way he's been grinding everybody else down.
It's either Teofimo stops him early or Subriel stops Teofimo late. That's the way I see it, because this is boxing. This is not a video game. Punches hurt. Even the ones you block, even the ones that don't land flush, even the glancing blows. All of it takes something out of you. And there's a physical component that is often overlooked by the fans. That there are some instances where you can have the right base style for the job and still lose. That's what happened to Tony Harrison in the second Jermel Charlo fight, that your durability is just as important as the other stuff.
Styles make fights. Nobody said that they don't. But physicality matters as well.
Teofimo was a big, strong lightweight. Fast too, but it's super lightweight. He's not so big. He's not that strong.
What if he lands his best shot on Subriel, but he's still there? He doesn't go anywhere. What happens after that? It's a legitimate question.
It needs to be asked. And finally, former Showtime Sports president Stefan Espinoza confirms the PBC are in discussions for a second broadcast agreement. As it seems, the Amazon deal, the Amazon agreement, just ain't cutting it. It seems to be little more than just a distribution deal. Espinoza, the former president of sports at Showtime, revealed the PBC are locked in talks to land further broadcast agreements that will supplement its current arrangement with Amazon Prime. Espinoza has indicated that he has been involved in negotiations alongside the PBC, not only helping secure a primary broadcaster, but also in search of additional broadcasters and networks to handle PBC requirements for dates. I said it from the beginning, the very beginning, when news broke that they jumped into bed with Amazon, that 12 to 14 fight dates is not going to be able to accommodate a stable of 100 or 160 fighters or so. It's not enough dates for enough guys.
12 to 14 fight dates for that many fighters, in tandem with there not being a commitment from Amazon to PBC's programming, that all they're doing is distributing the content. They're not paying for any of it.
How many times since December of last year, when this news first broke, did you hear me say that this agreement with Amazon doesn't appear to be the same kind of agreement that they had with Fox or Showtime? Those major broadcasters made a commitment to the PBC. Amazon didn't.
So while everybody else is rolling out their comprehensive schedule of fights, they're still looking for backup.
You name a network and the PBC talked to them. Espinoza told the Boxing Voice. Some of the talks I was involved with and some of them I wasn't involved with, everyone got an opportunity to speak with the PBC. There are still opportunities and conversations ongoing with PBC, and it would not surprise me at all if something got added alongside this Amazon deal regarding PBC going onto a second network.
I still think they should have went with DAZN. They should have went where the boxing fans already are.
Matchroom has already unveiled a comprehensive schedule of fights. Some fights bigger than others. Some fights are very big, like the Joshua versus Ngannou fight.
Golden Boy's rolled out a comprehensive schedule of fights, and both Matchroom and Golden Boy jointly have just announced the Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia fight. They've made it official.
Just 2 months into the new year, they've got a lot of things going on, and all the while, the PBC is still looking for backup, still looking for another broadcast partner. Espinoza has indicated the promotional entity is in talks with more traditional broadcasters and networks, and insisted PBC can support other broadcasting agreements due to the number of fighters in their roster. With the number of talents which PBC has, there is more than enough within PBC to support 2 different broadcasting platforms and agreements, Espinoza added. There are certainly traditional channels and traditional networks that are in conversations with the PBC. However, I hesitate to say if an announcement is due soon on this day or by that date.
That doesn't sound like an announcement is imminent.
Really doesn't sound like they're on the verge of announcing some big news. They've already been in bed with NBC, they've been in bed with Fox, they've been in bed with Showtime. Who would want to pick them up now? I remember late last year, there was some kind of rumor about them jumping into bed with Netflix, but I wouldn't describe Netflix as a traditional network, a conventional network. They're a streaming platform, just like Amazon Prime.
But they should be so lucky as to get picked up by Netflix, because Netflix has a lot of means and a lot of resources. The question is, at this point, who's going to make a commitment to the PBC?
Espinoza said real conversations are going on, and there is definite interest from some of the more traditional networks in acquiring a PBC package. And while they're in the process of doing this or trying to do this, they're losing strength. They're losing the strength in their stable. Ray Vargas has jumped ship, and he could end up losing his WBC title to Nick Ball in his very next fight. Subriel Matias has decided to jump ship, and he's rumored to be going with Matchroom.
Wilder appears to be gone.
So how many fighters are going to stick with the PBC and wait for them to sort this out, to get picked up by a new broadcast partner? We're 2 months into the new year, and everybody's making big announcements. Sky Sports, Boxer, Queensberry on TNT, Matchroom, Golden Boy on DAZN, ESPN, and Top Rank.
Everybody's got big news. Everybody's got stuff going on.
All the PBC has been able to roll out is a lone card, a single card on the Amazon Prime platform that most people feel isn't box office worthy anyway. And if they don't get a new broadcast partner,
They're fucked.
more fighters are going to jump ship. They don't have a choice. Amazon Prime in this distribution deal can't accommodate them. They can't wait around forever for the PBC to sort this out. Stefan Espinoza says that these conversations are happening. I don't doubt that they are, but they need to move quickly. We're 2 months into this year.
Peacock picked up the U.S. rights to boxer shows. Do you think they'd pick up the PBC?
I don't know. Their parent company's NBC, and the PBC's already been in bed with them. Not sure who would be willing to pick them up.